Hello students, hope you all are fine. We were discussing unit 1, that is electrostatic, in which we were discussing first chapter electric field and charges. Three topics we were going to discuss: introduction to electrostatic, second basic properties of charges, and third Coulomb's law. In the previous video lecture I have already discussed about introduction to electrostatic. Today we'll discuss two topics, that is basic properties of charges, and the second topic which we will discuss is your Coulomb's law. So first we'll see the basic properties of charges. As you all know, there are various properties of charges, but there are three important properties which we need to discuss. First one is quantization of charges. The second property is additive nature of charge. And the third property is conservation of charge. So one by one we'll discuss all these three properties, that is quantization of charge, second additive nature of charge, and the third one is conservation of charges. So let's start our first property, that is quantization of charges. So first we'll see the statement and then we'll see the explanation of quantization of charges. The statement goes like this: it is a fact that all the observable charges are an integral multiple of the basic elementary charge. By basic elementary charge we mean the charge on an electron or on a proton, which is 1.69 into 10 raised to power minus 19 coulomb. So this is the statement of quantization of charge, that is, it is a fact that all the observable charges are an integral multiple of the basic elementary charge, and by basic elementary charge we means charge on an electron or an proton, which is equal to 1.69 into 10 raised to power minus 19 coulomb. This is the statement. Now in simple language we'll see what does it really mean. In the previous video lecture I have discussed with you an example of glass rod and silk. As we have discussed that when a glass rod is rubbed with silk, the glass loses its electrons because it has less work function, and these electrons are transferred to the silk. As glass is losing an electron, it will become positive, and the silk is gaining the electron, so it will become negative. In this whole process we know that there is a transfer of electron from the glass rod to the silk. Quantization of charges states that these charges which are getting transferred from the glass rod to the silk, they will always be an integral multiple. Integral multiple means that it would the transfer of charges would be like one charges will transfer, or two charges will get transferred, or maybe 100 charges will get transferred. But it is not possible that the transfer of charges may be in fraction. Fraction is not possible. Fraction is not possible. अब सिंपल लैंग्वेज में इसका मतलब क्या है हम लोग ये समझ लेते हैं कि जब ग्लास रॉड को सिल्क से रब किया जाता है, ट्रांसफ़र ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन होता है ग्लास रॉड से सिल्क में। ये जो ट्रांसफ़र ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन होगा ये हमेशा एक इंटीग्रल मल्टीपल रहेगा। 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन जाएगा, 2 इलेक्ट्रॉन जाएंगे, 5 इलेक्ट्रॉन जा सकते हैं, 100 इलेक्ट्रॉन जा सकते हैं। फ्रैक्शन इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल का मतलब है कि कभी भी ये मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा कि 3/4 ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन ग्लास रॉड से सिल्क में ट्रांसफ़र हुआ है, या 1.75 इलेक्ट्रॉन ग्लास रॉड से सिल्क में ट्रांसफ़र हुआ है, या √2 इलेक्ट्रॉन ट्रांसफ़र हुआ है। ये सारे जो केसेस हैं ये इसमें पॉसिबल नहीं है। So this is related to the statement of quantization of charge. Quantization of charge can mathematically be represented by a formula Q is equal to plus minus NE, where N is an integral multiple. It can be 1, 2 up to infinity, and by E we means the basic elementary charge, that is 1.69 into 10 raised to power minus 19 कूलम। प्लस और माइनस साइन यहाँ पर ये डिनोट करता है दैट प्लस एंड माइनस गिव्स यू द पोलैरिटी। इफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ प्रोटॉन इज देयर यू विल टेक इट एज प्लस एनी, and if transfer of electron is there it will be minus Ne. But in most of the cases we will use the formula minus Ne. This is because as you all know, if we compare the mass of electron and proton, प्रोटॉन का जो मास होता है वो बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, इलेक्ट्रॉन का जो मास होता है वो बहुत कम होता है। तो जब भी ट्रांसफ़र ऑफ चार्जेस होगा एक बॉडी से दूसरी बॉडी में, मैक्सिमम पॉसिबिलिटी यही रहती है कि हमेशा इलेक्ट्रॉन का ट्रांसफ़र होगा बिकॉज दे हैव लेस मास। सो दिस इज़ द मैथमेटिकल फार्मूला रिलेटेड टू क्वांटाइजेशन ऑफ चार्ज। इट इज़ वेरी मच इम्पॉर्टेंट। आगे बहुत सारे डेरिवेशन में हम लोग इनको क्या करने वाले हैं, यूज़ करने वाले हैं। सो दिस फार्मूला इज़ वेरी मच इम्पॉर्टेंट। नाउ we'll come to our second property, that is additive nature of charge. This is a very simple property. First we'll see the statement and then we'll see the explanation. So the statement goes like this: the total charge on a body or a system is the algebraic sum of all the charges located anywhere in the body. So this is the statement of additive nature of charge. The total charge on a body or a system is the algebraic sum of all the charges located anywhere in the body. Now what does it really mean? Say for example I am considering a body. Now this body has n number of charges, say q1, q2, q3, q4 and qn. Now this body is containing n number of charges, and if I say calculate the total number of charges on the body, so the total number of charges, that is capital Q, will be equal to the algebraic sum of all the charges located anywhere in the body. So mathematically we can write that Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 plus Q4. We'll do the algebraic sum of all the n number of charges located in the body. So this is the property additive nature of charge. Now we'll see the third property, that is conservation of charges. Now we'll see the statement of conservation of charge. The total charge of the isolated body is always conserved, or in other words we can say the sum of the positive charges and negative charges will always be a constant quantity. So conservation of charge is similar to conservation of energy. So conservation of charge is similar to conservation of energy. Conservation of energy का statement क्या है? That energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, only it can be converted from one form to another, and the total energy of a system will remain a constant quantity. Now we can understand this property with a basic example. We'll take an example of radioactive decay of uranium. The radioactive decay of uranium can be explained with an equation. Uranium 238, when it goes under radioactive decay, thorium is produced, 234 90 plus helium 4 and 2. Now we can see the charges in uranium before disintegration was 92, and when it has disintegrated into thorium and helium, the charges in thorium were 90 and in helium it was 2. So before disintegration, the total charges were 92, and after disintegration the total charges were 90 of thorium and 2 of helium, which is equal to 90. So before disintegration and after disintegration the total charges are same. This is conservation of charges. Now after discussing the basic properties of charges, we'll discuss now Coulomb's law of electrostatic. This is the very basic law of electrostatic, and it is very simple. We'll first see the statement, and then as you know, we'll see the explanation. Coulomb's law states that 2 point charges can attract or repel each other by a force which is directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distances between them. So Coulomb's law of electrostatic states that 2 point charges can attract or repel each other by a force which is directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distances between them. Now to understand this, let us consider two charges Q1 and Q2 which are separated by a distance say r. Now in the first line what I have said, 2 point charges can attract or repel each other. As you all know, if these two charges are same, like if Q1 is negative and Q2 is negative, they will repel each other. If Q1 is positive and Q2 is negative, unlike charges are there, they will attract each other. But in both the cases, it is sure that these two charges, there will be a force in between the two charges. It can be attractive force also and it can be repulsive force also. It will depend upon its polarity. If same charges are there, repulsive force will be there, and if unlike charges are there, attractive force will be there. So Coulomb's law states that the force is directly proportional to the product of the two charges, and this force is inversely proportional to the square of the distances between them. Now if we combine these two equations, combining equation 1 and 2, we can say that F is directly proportional to Q1 Q2 by R square. As you all know, if proportionality sign is removed, then a constant will come which is represented by K, and the formula will be K Q1 Q2 by R square. Through experiments, the value of K was 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So by Coulomb's law, what will be the formula for force? It is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. This is a very basic formula in electrostatic, but very important formula, and with the help of this formula we will derive many results in future. So by Coulomb's law, the formula for force was F is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So here we have came across a quantity which is known as epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is known as absolute permittivity of free space. By free space we can say vacuum. Now what does it really mean? इसका मतलब क्या है? बहुत सिंपल है. एप्सिलॉन हमें ये बताता है कि किस मीडियम में हम लोगों के चार्जेस प्रेजेंट है. एप्सिलॉन नॉट का मतलब ये होता है कि अभी जो दो चार्जेस हैं वो किस मीडियम में रखे हुए हैं? वैक्यूम में रखे हुए हैं. अगर इन केस किसी और मीडियम में रखे रहते हैं, एयर में रखे रहते हैं, वाटर में रखे रहते हैं, तो इन दैट केस द वैल्यू ऑफ एप्सिलॉन विल बी गिवन टू अस, एंड इन द फॉर्मूला in place of epsilon naught we have to put values because the medium is changing. The value of epsilon naught is pre-calculated and it is 8.854 into 10 raised to power minus 12 Coulomb square Newton meter inverse square. दिस इज़ द वैल्यू फॉर वैक्यूम. अब कभी हम लोग पूछते हैं कि एयर के लिए क्या हम लोग यही वैल्यू लेंगे? अगर आपसे ये पूछा जाता है कि क्या एयर और वैक्यूम के लिए दोनों वैल्यू सेम है, सो नो, द वैल्यू फॉर एयर इज़ डिफरेंट एंड द वैल्यू फॉर वैक्यूम इज़ डिफरेंट, बट द डिफरेंस इज़ दैट द वैल्यू ऑफ एब्सोल्यूट permittivity of air is 1.005 times that of absolute permittivity of vacuum. So absolute permittivity of air is not equal to absolute permittivity of vacuum. They don't have same value. Variation is the absolute permittivity of air is 1.005 times more than that of the absolute permittivity of vacuum. But as we all know, this is a very less factor कि अगर हम 1.005 को 8.854 इंटू 10⁻⁻12 से मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे तो उसमें रिजल्ट में कोई एप्रिशिएबल चेंज नहीं आएगा. सो जब हमें न्यूमरिकल्स में एयर लेना हो या वैक्यूम लेना हो तो वी विल टेक द वैल्यू 8.854 इंटू 10⁻12. But if an objective question comes कि क्या they have the same value or by what factor they vary, so it is 1.005 times that the value of absolute permittivity of vacuum. The next thing which we need to understand कि जब हम लोग न्यूमरिकल्स करेंगे, in that case the value of 1.4 pi epsilon naught it is equal to 9 into 10⁻9. डायरेक्टली हम लोग ये वैल्यू पुट कर सकते हैं जब हमें क्या करना है, न्यूमरिकल्स को करना है. ठीक. So today we have discussed two topics: basic properties of charges and Coulomb's law. Hope you have understood. In case if you have any doubt, you can contact me anytime. In the next video lecture, I will be discussing about relative permittivity, which is a very important topic, and then we'll see the properties of electric field lines and what does it really means. Thank you very much. Please make one correction in the unit of epsilon naught. I said that the value of epsilon naught is 8.854 into 10⁻⁻12. The unit is Coulomb square Newton inverse meter inverse square. So please make this correction that the unit is Coulomb square Newton inverse meter inverse square. Thank you.